As I indicated, it has been a very busy week here in Washington, D.C., even as we await justice for Ahmaud Arbery. One of the stories that we've been following closely is Charlottesville, Virginia, where yesterday a jury in a civil trial awarded some of the victims of that Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville $25 million, which means that some of the people who have been spewing hate will now have to pay dearly for that hatred. Joining us right now, once again, is our legal analyst here, Candace Kelley. And Candace, first of all, break it down for our audience. Exactly what happened in that jury verdict yesterday with regards to this civil trial?
This is really unprecedented, Del. This really puts people on notice, like white supremacists, neo-Nazis, that when they have a protest that they can't hide behind the First Amendment. What happened here was that there were 9 plaintiffs that charge a couple of dozen defendants with conspiring to have a protest that was based upon race, and that was based upon race that would end up in violence. There were texts, there were messages on Discord, there were even podcasts that they played during the court and proceedings to show what was going on behind the scenes. What was key here is that it didn't matter whether or not all of these people were behind the scenes, not necessarily talking with each other. That didn't matter. They didn't have to talk each other. The conspiracy happened when all of them descended upon Charlottesville in August of 2017. And as a result of that, someone did get hurt. In fact, specifically, there was something that came out during the case that said behind the scenes, they were talking about, hey, listen, if we need to crack some skulls, let it be. And in fact, someone's skull was cracked. They looked up information about what happens when you drive into a crowd. And we know that Heather Heyer died when we had somebody drive into the crowd and kill her. So all of this amounted to this partial guilty verdict. And as you said, about $26 million, they are on the they're on the hanging for. They are responsible for. Excuse me. Whether or not they will get that is another story, because we've got defendants that are not very rich. They say that they have been financially debilitated by this whole process, but they are on the hook for it right now, Del.
And Candace, this is the rally. Jews will not replace us, the Tiki Torch rally in Charlottesville. Any other time in America, this would have been page 1 news, and we would have been broadcasting it wall to wall here at BNC. But think about where we are. Kyle Rittenhouse happening in Wisconsin, Ahmaud Arbery happening in Georgia, and this winds up almost being page 3. Speak to this moment in American history where it seems like we're not talking about 2021. It seems like we're talking about 1921.
Yeah, we're talking about 1921, and we're talking because there's so many headlines that are out there that have kind of created this fabric of America that is so much different from 10 years ago. We are dealing at a time where social media feeds and bleeds into what happens into real life. We are at a time where people like to go behind the scenes. They're so computer confident and writing anything that they want, not knowing that what they say and do could translate into a lawsuit, just like now. But we're also talking about, when we look at a Kyle Rittenhouse case and we look at this case, the United case, we're looking at what it means to protest, what it means to have a First Amendment right, and how somebody should not invade your space when you are supposed to be and allowed to be where you are because you have the proper permits. That's what we're looking at. And we know that when it comes to social justice, for example, the Ahmaud Arbery case, that didn't happen because the justice system in Georgia, wanted this case to happen once they viewed the video. That case happened once we viewed the video. That's what was the impetus of this, which is why we have to keep our eyes on cases like this, even though it's not making the headlines, to understand our rights, the people's rights, when they go out and march in the name of justice, because we know when people just go out and march, that makes change.
Candace, a lot of people say they're not going to get $25 million, but what they may get is what we saw in the Ku Klux Klan case. They may get a house, they may get property, they may get everything that these people ever owned or ever will own. So even though it may not be $25 million in their pockets, your thoughts on what reparations in this case will look like?
They probably won't get the $25 million, but here's the deal. For the next 20 years, if these defendants come across any money, whether it's a home, whether it's money, their 401k, their Roth IRA, then for the next 20 years, they are on the hook to pay these particular plaintiffs. That's first. Secondly, the plaintiffs, I think that they felt good in knowing that this was out there and that financially they were crippled, because sometimes the legal system is used in a way where, well, listen, we have punitive damages, right? We make sure that somebody has to pay money. We know that when it comes to people's finances, that it translates into something bigger. Here, it's going to translate into a lot of these people shutting down what they do, which many of them have done that. They have denounced white supremacy, and also just crippling them to a point where they know better not to go out and talk about their racist ideologies as if it's some type of basis of the way that America should and could exist. That will go away a little more quickly with this type of a verdict hanging over them.